Welcome to Soul-Led Creative Women, the podcast for heart-centered creative women who are ready to reclaim their spark and live with deeper meaning, authenticity, and soul. So today I have Kristen Crabtree with me. Kristen is an author and certified divorce coach whose work is grounded in lived experience, not theory. She's the creator of Paramour Paradox, a self-recovery ecosystem helping seekers rediscover who they are, and a divorce coaching practice where she supports people before, during, or post-divorce. Through her journey of self-recovery, Kristen helps others move from invisibility to authenticity, from adaptation to truth, reminding us it's never too late to feel alive again. So welcome, Kristen.
Thank you, Sam. It's so good to be here.
So let's just start with your story. Tell us about your journey and how that's led to the work that you're doing today.
Yeah. So I'm going to give the short version. You're
Yeah.
welcome to ask questions. I'm not cutting it short for any reason other than there's so much more to talk about.
Yeah.
So when I was a teenager, 13, I was sexually assaulted, 15, I was raped. And that is relevant to my story in particular because those experiences were weaponized and used against me in a 22-year marriage to a woman who was incredibly manipulative and controlling and all of that. And I didn't even realize what was happening to me, in the marriage, which is the way psychological abuse unfolds. That's
Mhm.
why it's a unique type of abuse in that way. It just chips
Mm.
away at you until
Mm.
there's nothing left. So I didn't leave with clarity. In fact, I left in a puddle of fear and confusion and fog. And I literally had to leave when she was out of town because she wouldn't let me leave. Or at
Mm.
least that's what I thought. I didn't know I had the power to leave because of what I'd been in. So I left and I moved to an area where I knew no one. I rented a furnished apartment. So I brought none of my furnishings. I brought 2 carloads of clothes and kitchen stuff and my pets. And quickly realized that I had no clue who I was. I had been so covered in adaptation from survival that I didn't even know, what clothes do I like to wear? What do I want my furnishings to look like? I mean, even really basic stuff. And after I got through the initial, trauma obsession, and by that I mean, I cycled in this path of I got to know everything there is to know about narcissistic abuse because I realized,
Mhm.
I had words for it then. So ruminated about that for about 3 months. And then one day I just kind of snapped out of it and I said, I need to listen to something different because I'd been listening to all these Audible books about narcissism. And there was a book that I had downloaded on Audible that I didn't know anything about the author. I didn't know anything about what he did, but I just like the name of the book. It was called Becoming Supernatural
Mhm.
by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And his work, I have to attribute my initial reconnection to self. There was a lot of things that he teaches in his work that made sense as to how I was having trouble healing because I was stuck in the loop of, thought, emotion, behavior, experience, back to thought. And even though I wanted to stop obsessing, I couldn't, and I didn't totally
Mhm.
understand why. So, from working with his work on a logical level, as well as learning his very specific meditation process, I began to hear my truth. And I want to first comment on the meditation thing because I think it's very relevant to this creativity
Mhm.
conversation that we're going
Mhm.
to have. And a lot of people hear the word meditation, myself included, before this journey, right?
Yeah.
They hear the word meditation and they think, I can't meditate. I'm a failure when I try to meditate. And I think that comes from a prevailing concept that meditation is only meditation if you're sitting cross-legged, saying,
Mhm.
or looking at a candle or paying attention to your breath and your brain, your mind is clear. But, in reality, we live with monkey mind like
Yeah.
all the time.
Mhm.
And it's super, super, super hard to quiet monkey mind. But if we don't quiet monkey mind, we can't hear our truth, right? So, Dr. Joe's meditation was my first ability to feel like I could really meditate. His style worked for me. That doesn't mean I'm telling anybody to do that style. It's
Mm.
awesome, but there's so many awesome ways to create a meditative state,
Sure.
creativity being one of them,
Yeah.
which is I think really it's why your podcast is so exciting because it does do that where in a way that people feel safer and more confident,
Mhm.
less
Mhm.
less like failures. So anyways, through his meditations, I started to crack open the door. I wound up taking the plunge and going to his first 10 day retreat, which those are crazy. And when I came back from that retreat, I was sitting on my sofa and I said, okay, true self, what am I supposed to be doing now? And I immediately, and I always do this out loud
Mhm.
when I'm talking to my truth, I call it my true self, but whatever. I immediately heard, go find the book that you wrote in 1999. It was so far out of left field. I barely remembered writing this book, which is why I
Okay.
really do feel like it was from my truth.
Yeah.
And that book became the book that I just recently published, Be the You
Mhm.
That's More You Than You've Ever Been. That's not what its title was back then.
Mhm.
So for me, the journey to healing and to being authentic and to removing all my layers of adaptation came from that spark of creativity that I had from back in 1999 that I brought forward into my current reality, into my current life.
Wow, cool. So in our message exchanges, you describe the work, the Paramore paradox to me as a creative excavation of the self. So tell us about what that phrasing means to you.
Yes. So when I opened that book from 1999, because again, I didn't remember what it was. So the first chapter was filled with eight exercises.
Mhm.
And I did them, and my first thought was, wow, these are brilliant. Who wrote these? And my second thought was, these are really like an excavation to the self because the exercises are really designed to like peel back those layers and
Mhm.
get at the
Mhm.
truth, the person, the essence of who you really are. And I decided to create more exercises and more questions for myself to help me get at that truth. And so there's kind of 3 components to the model that I use,
Mhm.
and the first one is the archaeologist, and that's really the part of me that, like, dove into Dr. Joe's work and just, neuroscience, metaphysics,
Mhm.
philosophy,
Mhm.
theory, and I realized that what that was doing was that was giving me, like, the education to be able to look at these artifacts. So the artifacts are our memories, our experiences, our passions, to look at the artifacts and say, is this adaptation, which I
Mhm.
would call rubble, or is this authenticity, something that is really me?
Mhm.
So archaeologist to artifact, and then to the architect that designs the True You 2.0. So the excavation to self is really the way I look at rather than becoming someone new or learning something different. I believe the path back to truth is removing layers,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Removing. And so the excavation is the process that I use, that I refer to for
Awesome.
doing that.
So you also make a distinction between self-recovery and self-help. Tell us a bit about that concept.
Oh, yeah. I really hate the idea of self-help. I mean, my book probably is in the self-help category, but I, I hate that concept because, again, it implies that there's something wrong with us, that there's
Yeah,
something
yeah,
that
yeah,
has to be helped. Even personal development, I don't really like that term either because,
yeah.
again, it means we have to develop something that's not there. And to me, our truth is really found in the self-revelation of the brilliance that we are. We are
Mm-hmm.
all so amazingly brilliant, but we've forgotten. And so the gift that this life gives us is the chance to remember. And that to me is really what self-revelation is all about. And then the second part of that is self-reclamation. So that's really what the architect is doing. And the reclamation is what I call remembering the future. So
Okay.
self-revelation is remembering the past. Self-reclamation is remembering the future.
So do you believe that intentional creative practices, are this is the spiritual work that we crave rather than kind of this traditional, I mean, you touched on it a bit before, but this sort of spiritual dogma or this more intimidating spiritual practices that we're sort of taught that we should embrace if we're going to go on the journey?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think there are infinite ways to quiet monkey mind,
Yeah.
to settle our nervous system enough that
Mhm.
we have some clarity. We don't have to do that traditional dogmatic, I
Mm.
think that's a great word, version of meditation. It can be, eating your first 2 bites of food with great, and even if it's, from a fast food restaurant,
Mhm,
just
mhm,
opening the paper with intention, looking at the food, thanking the animal, taking that first bite, noticing the textures and the taste. That is meditation in my book.
mhm, mhm,
That is
mhm,
an experience of filtering out all the noise and just zeroing in on something. And
mhm.
the beautiful thing about creative work, whether it's drawing, painting, writing, whatever, is that that's often when we experience flow.
Yeah.
And there's no better meditation than the experience of flow
Mm,
during creative work. I mean,
mm, mm.
it's yummy, right?
Yeah.
And so that is a brilliant way of being able to quiet the mind enough to start to reconnect with who you really are,
Yeah.
your brilliance. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what sort of, at the root is why you keep going back, like why you keep showing up for it as well. Because when you kind of can experience that, um, it changes the way that you're processing information and processing the world, and your experiences. So powerful. Completely agree with
Yep.
that.
Yep.
So how has creativity supported your own empowerment, and your spiritual journey personally?
I can't. I have to stop creating new things. I keep having these ideas and I keep, instead of like doing things to, bring divorce coaching clients, I'm like creating these clarity cards.
Yeah, okay.
I have free stuff on my website like crazy because I'm like, oh, that would be a really cool free digital download. So I spend this time creating this stuff that like it's gonna make me money. It's like it brings me so much enjoyment and pleasure that yeah, that I do it. I don't think I answered your question, but uh so yes. So what I have found from my own healing is that because I'm now connected to my truth, I don't need motivation. I don't need discipline because everything that is coming up is from a
Mhm,
place of passion. And when
mhm,
you have passion,
mhm.
you don't need you don't need to manufacture discipline or motivation, right? You like
Yeah.
can't stop creating because
Yeah.
it just feels so good. And so, yeah, the creativity for me, even like cooking now, I'm way more into
Mhm,
cooking than I ever was. Just, uh, it, it is just such a huge part of staying connected to self. And it doesn't have to be for those people who are like, I can't draw, I can't
yeah.
paint. Great. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Scribble on a piece of paper or
Yeah.
lay on the floor and wiggle around. Like
Yeah.
art can take so many different forms. Creativity, creation, creativeness can take so many different forms. I
Mm.
mean, one of the things that I created that's free on my website is a custom GPT called I
Okay.
hear what you're not saying. So to me, that is a creative
Yeah.
gift I'm bringing, but
Yeah.
is it like drawing or painting? No, but it's coming from, yeah,
Yeah.
creativity.
Yeah. I understand. And so do you think that, I mean, like there's the skill sort of thing that you talked about. I can't draw, I can't paint, I can't whatever.
Mhm.
But there's also kind of this inspiration well as well. Do you think that inspiration well, that fuels our creativity, do you think that also comes from within and from our truth?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. Yep. I mean, really, the more connected we get to our truth, the more things flow, the more
Mm,
life just works the way it's supposed to. I mean, life truly isn't supposed to be hard.
mhm.
Relationships are not supposed to be work. I used to
Yeah.
say this, oh, relationships are work. They're not really supposed to be. Like, they
Yeah.
don't have to be. If life is work and if your relationship is work, then it's probably not your truth.
Mm, mm. Yeah. And also, that need for relationship as well. Obviously, we are, relational beings, but this kind of desperation, I think, for relational energy and validation is kind of a trip up as well. Would you agree with that?
Well, so Paramore Paradox in the poem. So going back to creativity.
Yeah.
So that name came, I won't bother you with the story about where the name came from, but it wasn't a logical decision, right?
Okay.
But when the name was given to me, a poem immediately came to mind and I knew it was right. So you can go to my website to see the whole poem, but the essence of it is we spend our whole lives looking outside of ourselves for
Mm,
true love.
mm,
And really, and the reason paramour is particularly appropriate
mhm,
in this context. So we spend our whole lives looking for love outside of ourselves, and really the love that we seek is within.
mhm,
Okay, lots of people say that. The reason paramour was such an interesting word that came to mind is because that usually means like illicit lover, right?
right.
Well, we are taught not to love ourselves,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And so that is our illicit love. And you should never be, you shouldn't feel like you have to whisper that you love yourself. I mean, I
Yeah.
freaking love myself now, I mean, I do. And it's such a great, great feeling. And so that really is the context for Paramore Paradox.
So I think you have like a quick reflection exercise that you can share with us. So give us a bit of a taste of your process. Are you okay to share that with us?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've got so many, but the one that I think I'll use here, and so first of all, I'll say I have a free one. Come on, it's free. Blah, blah, blah. I have a free one on my website called Who Am I? And it was actually the very first exercise in that 1999 book.
Okay.
And in this book, my published book, it's what I call foreplay. It's the sort of lubrication of the
Mhm,
mind for the
mhm, mhm.
process. And that is a fantastic, self-revelation exercise that you can do over and over and over, but that is on my website for free,
Yeah.
so I won't walk you guys through that. But one that I think is really fun for people who know there's more, can't figure out how to get there,
Mhm,
can't figure out how to start to hear, like, who they really are, I call it the detective.
mhm,
So you grab a notepad and pen and you pretend that you're looking for the missing person in your house.
mm,
So you go throughout your house and you are looking for clues. So the missing person being you, right?
mhm,
So what does this person like so that I can figure out where they are? Oh, they have a whole bunch of books. Okay, so maybe they're in a library or a bookstore. Oh, all of the books are cooking books. Okay, so maybe they're in a cooking class, or
mhm,
maybe they work at a restaurant, or maybe so it starts to give you a sense of, the truths that are right in
mm,
front of your face. You walk by every day,
mm,
and you forget
mm,
about, or you don't have time for it, or, oh gosh, I'm not important enough to spend time cooking, right?
mm.
Unless I'm cooking what my family wants, or
Yeah.
something like that. So it's, our passions, our creative sparks get
Mm,
either dismissed or put on the back burner
mm.
or completely ignored or lost. The
Beautiful.
detective kind of starts to bring that to the forefront.
And is it also about, asking ourselves, what are we surrounding ourselves with that we love? What
Mhm.
is sparking that joy and that kind of
Yes.
curiosity?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, so my ex, everything was done and decided by her. So certainly our living environment was. And fortunately, she had good taste and she really
Oh,
liked things to
goodness.
be modern, which is beautiful. But it's not me. And I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Remember what I
Okay.
said when I left, even basic stuff? My house now, my living room kind of looks like a Turkish harem den or something. It
Okay.
has so many colors and
Yeah.
low-lying furniture and tapestries, and I part the beads. I have beaded curtains, right? So I
Yeah.
part the beads in the morning, and I look in there, and I'm like, it just makes me smile, and so it's
Yeah.
like unveiling that stuff about yourself will bring you so much joy, and it
Yeah.
is, figuring out the little whispers of what
Mm.
will then spark that and open that
Mm.
up. Yeah,
Yeah. And that's really, soul-led creative living, in terms of
absolutely.
the way that you're setting up your environment, the way you're moving through each room, each task, each day. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so beautiful. So, for all the women who are curious about recovering from their life experiences and deep societal conditioning, what powerful message or question would you like to leave them with today?
Powerful message. I know. You are brilliant. You are magnificent. You are amazing. All of you are.
Mm.
You've just forgotten. And so it's time to remember. That's my message.
So powerful. So, how can people get to know you better, Kristen, and get a real feel for the work that you're doing?
Well, if you've been listening to this and thinking, I want to get in there and talk, I have a website, not even a website, a place that I can send you
Mhm.
to called you2.0.com, YOU, the number two, the word point, the number 0.com. All that is a little video of me saying, hey, if you want to talk, there's my calendar. Now, it's like not a sales thing. This is my passion project. This is my mission,
Yeah.
right? It's separate from the divorce coaching. That's my business. So, really, that is just about if I, can help you get on the path to your creativity, which will bring you
Mhm.
to your true self. Great. You certainly can also explore the ecosystem at paramoreparadox.com. And I'm
Mhm.
sure, Sam, you'll have the link in the show
Yeah.
notes. It's an amazing system. I can say that because I can't even take credit for it. I was the conduit that brought it to the
Mhm.
world. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's amazing. And I'm glad that I was that conduit. But you can go check that out and see what all is there. Lots of free
Awesome.
stuff.
Yeah, all the free stuff. Awesome. Thanks so much for coming and chatting with me today, Kristen. Love your energy. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me, Sam. It was amazing. You're doing great work.
Hey, Sam here. Thanks for listening to the end. If you love this episode, I would love to hear from you. Please send me a message on social media. You can find me on Instagram at Sam Horton Studio. For more episodes like this, please subscribe to my podcast, Soul Led Creative Women, on your favourite platform. You'll find all the links at samhorton.co/podcast. The themes and tools explored in this episode feature in my new online program, Empowered Creative Soul. To find out more and join the waitlist for VIP perks when doors open, please visit samhorton.co. The direct link is in the show notes. Take care.